We've got a real treat in this class today. Not only do you get to avoid me and my award-winning sense of humor for a few minutes, but I'm going to bring in an expert with years of experience in life insurance sales and the process of financial estate and business planning. Got Al Gibbons here with us today, who's a student of mine when I was a novice instructor, and Al has a history. He was a home office executive, and why don't you tell us a little bit about yourself, Al?
Well, Ted, as you know, for many years I was in management, and in 1990 I decided to really go back and do what I enjoyed the most and build my own practice. And so for the last, how many years is that, 17 years, I've been doing that and been back dealing with clients, building my practice, working with other advisors in various marketplaces for high net worth individuals.
In this class, and again, this class is buy-sell agreements for unincorporated businesses, we're going to come up with some issues that are going to come up in other settings, and I think this is the type of thing that would help our students and throughout the process of any type of insurance programming. But in a succession plan for a closely held business, it might be a family business, it might be unrelated partners, you're going to have differences in ages, and certainly the more people you get involved and the older the people that are involved, the more likely you're going to have some health implications. And why don't you talk about the underwriting issues that you have to address and how you address them in a case like this?
Well, Ted, that's a good question. I think underwriting is always a very important issue, whether you're dealing with an individual or with a group of people, for example, in a closely held business. In everything that we'll talk about today, I'm going to talk about things flowing from the fact pattern. So let's say we have several different individuals, different ages, and different health histories. I'm not too concerned up front about the actual structure of how these policies are going to be used or how they're going to be owned, whether we have an entity buy, sell, or cross-purchase. I'm not too concerned about those issues. What I will do is go out and try to find the best offers available for these clients, let's say the best values offers for these clients, so that we have a combination of very strong companies, very solid companies, and very fair underwriting offers. So in these kind of cases, you need more than one company frequently in order to do the deal and do it successfully, I think. So it's a question early on in the process, and I always work with other advisors, and perhaps we can talk about that later. But early in the process, we're going to want people to get insurance physicals, and we'll start doing the underwriting work while other people, and we are involved in the process of talking about design and talking about the issues and so forth. And then we'll sort of let things flow once we get the underwriting offers back.
That's a great bit of knowledge. And now I want to talk about something else, and this is more process-oriented. And we'll be specific to the buy-sell, but the process and some of the ethics of this are something that would work in every planning situation involving product or services. And one of the things I see, unfortunately, a great deal of time in the business market, buy-sell agreements, split dollar agreements, I'll see insurance that's been written, might have been a great offer, I don't know, I mean, that's not my part of the job, and one of the reasons I appreciate working with you is this doesn't happen in our cases, but the insurance is written, the customer thinks the work is done, and I'll meet the people and they'll say, you know, for us for 5 years, can I see the buy-sell agreement? And they'll say, buy-sell agreement or a split dollar agreement? And it's really hard to reconstruct a fact pattern like that. And then if something happened to go wrong, God forbid somebody passed away in a circumstance like that, we've got insurance funding, maybe a policy owner and a beneficiary designation that made sense for one plan but doesn't make sense without the documents. And then we've got the possibility of breach and just completely unwinding the whole purpose of that insurance. And I know you speak quite a bit about the ethics of implementation and getting that process done, and I really think the students in the business planning class ought to hear this, because the work could be great, the attorney's work could be great, the insurance work could be great, but the process can be bad, and that can be devastating.
Yeah, Ted, I think it's the biggest issue. So let me, if I may, let me talk a little bit about the process leading up to implementation, from planning to implementation, and what I think the issues are. And your students can refer to an article that I wrote for Trust and Estate several years ago. I think the title of that article is Beyond Competence, the Ethics of Implementation. So in the process, when I do business, and let's talk for a moment, since we're focusing on this, on closely held businesses, because those are very complicated situations. You have succession issues, you have transfer issues, you have cash flow issues, you have legal issues, family issues, all of the issues that we deal with and everything right in that little microcosm of the market. So I think it's a great place to be. For me, to be involved in one of those cases alone would make me very uncomfortable. In those kinds of cases, and really in all the cases in which I work, I always work as part of a team. Now, I don't want to sound Pollyannish about this, but best planning comes from team planning. If you can find advisors who can come together and work for the benefit of clients, leaving the egos at the door, but everybody focusing on doing what's right for the client, you can get some tremendous planning, especially in these family situations. Because if I'm asking a question alone, and I don't know the cash flow of the corporation, or I don't know the history of the family, the leader of that business, the leader of that family, the patriarch, it many times has both roles, may give me an answer regarding succession that really isn't what he means at all. And I can't challenge it because I don't have the context in which to challenge it. So if we have advisors and clients sitting around the table at the same time, those conversations are much more meaningful, and we can get much better planning. That's the first half of the equation. We can get some great planning in this industry. I think our industry does a very poor job in implementation. Part of the problem is that since we didn't have the team up front, we also don't have the team on the back end, and we don't have any coordinated action implementing the plan. So the I's don't get dotted and the T's don't get crossed. The documents don't get done, or if they're done, the attorney may send them over to the client and say, read these, come back with some questions. And entrepreneurs don't do that. So we need everybody to sort of bring our resources together to make sure that we empower the clients so that they can make the best decisions for themselves and for the families, and so that all advisors are then attuned to coordinating the implementation issues that take place, whether it's in the closely held business, whether it's in estate planning. And that is what the client expects to have done. Those are, that implementation is really keeping the promises that we made to the client up front. But so often, what do we see? The attorney doesn't get paid for going and chasing around the client to get the documents signed. That's not his model. And the insurance professional, unfortunately, in many cases, or a financial professional or somebody else, if they've made their fee or their commission, they're on to the next one. That's not being who we say we are. That's not keeping our promises. And we need to have a shift in paradigm here. We need to have each advisor involved in those transactions and in those planning situations, each of them understanding that you can't divide your responsibility to the client. If there are two of us in the process, we're not each 50% responsible. We are each 100% responsible to the client. That's the issue, and we need more of that in the industry.
I think this is a silver bullet, and one of the things that occurs to people, particularly early on in the business, is to exclude outsiders from the process out of a fear that something will go bad. There'll be a deal killer. And again, this is really short-sighted, because I have been in cases, one, remember just like it was yesterday, where the business owner, the CEO, begged a new broker in the case to replace all of the existing business. Now, some of that insurance couldn't be replaced because somebody was uninsurable, but begged to have it all replaced because the plan was bad. And I guess, what have you seen, and what can you tell the class if the process, if you've done great underwriting, you've got the best values, you bring it to the table and it's not implemented, and down the road somebody comes in and evaluates, what are the chances your business stays on the books?
Well, I guess if I understand the question, we're talking about relationships. Mm-hmm. We're talking about reputation, mm-hmm. and we're talking, again, about being who we say we are. So here's the issue. I think you're absolutely right that many people in my business, in my end of the business, fear working with other professionals because they view the attorney or the accountant as a deal breaker. That is a prevalent attitude in our industry, and it's happened enough to sort of reinforce that. Now, it's not, in my experience, it's not that the other people are deal breakers. There's a level of trust that has to occur between myself and other advisors. Everything depends on my competence, so I have to be able to demonstrate competence, my credentials and the things that I've done. That's an important part of somebody having confidence in me that I can do the right job on my end of the business. The second thing is to make sure that I have integrity. Integrity, I would define integrity as acting in the best interest of the client. If another professional advisor knows that I'm competent, knows that I'm willing to do whatever is the right thing for the client, I don't have any problem. Either does any other financial advisor. But too often the stereotype is that I'm trying to make a sale. Well, it's not about making a sale. I mean, it is about making a sale, but it's about making the right sale. It's about making the sale that evolves from the fact pattern, not a prepackaged deal coming into the business that this square peg I'm going to make fit into the round hole in this particular corporation. And I'm not going to say this in a disparaging way, but whether it's a 412I plan or a 419 plan in a business, those are solutions. Those aren't sales packages sort of crammed down from the top. So if I can build a reputation that I'm willing to work and share with other advisors, I'm willing to work in the best interest of the client, that we're all adults sitting around the table, that we can question each other's recommendation. Ted, I can tell you that if I'm recommending $10 million in a situation, I am perfectly comfortable if another advisor says, Al, if we did it this way, could we get by using $5 million of life insurance? And you know what? If we can, maybe we should. And if that's the right sale, then let's do the right thing. But just as many times, Ted, if I'm recommending 10, it may come back as 15 because they want to structure it a little bit differently and they see the benefit. Mm-hmm. So it's about competence and it's about integrity. That's what it's all about. And then you don't have problems with other advisors. Reputation's important. You sort of build that over time.
Al, thank you very much. I'm sure the class appreciated your comments, and if they follow your advice, they're going to be enormously successful because this business does have opportunity.
Thanks, Ted. Always a pleasure to work with you.
Thanks.